Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathsala. I am Tanmay Datta, Assistant Professor of Biochemistry in the Department of Chemistry, Indian Institute of Technology, Delhi. Today I am going to talk about eukaryotic DNA replication from paper Molecular Biology, Genetic Engineering and Biotechnology. Now I am going to explain the objectives of that paper. In today's lecture, we will see how new DNA is synthesized in the replication process in eukaryotes. We will also study about the different DNA polymerases and accessory proteins involved in the replication, the differences in their characteristics and their mode of functions, understanding of eukaryotic replication process, how does eukaryotic replication differs from that of prokaryotes, how different DNA polymerases are operative in DNA replication, how telomerase functions at the end of eukaryotic chromosomes. In this lecture, we will first study briefly about how eukaryotic replication is different from that of prokaryotes. We will then turn our attention towards the mechanism of different DNA polymerase action. At the end, we will study how telomerase maintain the integrity of the chromosome in eukaryotes. DNA replication mechanisms of both prokaryotes and eukaryotes are identical, and it should be completed before cell division starts. However, eukaryotic system is more complex in terms of the length of the DNA to be replicated and the number of proteins required. In eukaryotes, DNA is compartmentalized in different organelles, and hence a vast array of proteins is involved in different mode of replication in different organelles, as for example nuclear DNA, mitochondrial DNA, chloroplast DNA, etc. Unlike prokaryote, eukaryotic chromosome contain multiple origin of replication. However, similar to prokaryotic replication, in eukaryotes, the replication happens to be bidirectional from each origin. Several DNA polymerases control the polymerization reaction. In this section, we discuss eukaryotic DNA replication mechanism and the challenge of replicating the ends of linear chromosome. In this section, we will explain bidirectional DNA replication. Origins of replication in eukaryotic chromosomes are separated by tens to hundreds of kilobases. In yeast, the initiation of DNA replication occurs at autonomously replicating sequences, which are conserved 11 base pair sequences adjacent to easily unwound DNA. In mammalian genome, replication origins do not exhibit sequence conservation. Yet, these sites all support the binding of a 6 subunits of origin recognition complex, a hexa subunit protein called origin recognition complex or ORC binds to the replication origin. ORC in association with other proteins helps loading of hexameric helicases consisting of 6 homologous MCM proteins, which separates the parental strands at an origin in an ATP dependent manner with RPA proteins, eukaryotic homologue of bacterial SSB protein, that is single stranded binding protein, binding to the resulting single stranded DNA. The resulting pre-replication complex or pre-RC is not competent to initiate replication until it has been activated by other factors that control the progress through the cell cycle. Presumably, the separate control of pre-RC assembly and activation allows cell to select replication origins before MCM unwinds the template DNA and replication commences. Once DNA synthesis is initiated, the formation of pre-RC complexes is stopped, thereby ensuring that the DNA replication is occurred only once per cell cycle. Initiation sites are uniformly distributed across the genome in early embryogenesis when cell division is rapid. However, after cells have differentiated, the distribution of replication origins changes, possibly reflecting patterns of gene expression and alteration in DNA packaging in different cell types. Cytological observations indicate that the various chromosomal regions are not all replicated simultaneously. Rather, clusters of 20 to 80 adjacent replicons, that means the replicating units, segments of DNA that are each served by origin of replication, which are activated simultaneously. New sets of replicons are activated until the entire chromosome has been replicated. DNA replication proceeds in each direction from the origin of replication until each replication fork collides with a fork from the adjacent replicons. Eukaryotes appear to lack termination sequence analogous to the TAR site in bacteria like Escherichia coli. Primer synthesis and subsequent steps in the replication of cellular DNA as discussed in the next section. This figure represented in this slide shows a model of an SV40 DNA replication fork and assembled proteins. At position 1, hexameric T antigen, a viral helicase protein, unwinds the parental DNA strands. Multiple copies of proteins RPA at site 2 binds to the single-stranded region of parental template strands. A protein complex of DNA polymerase epsilon, tCNA, and RFC at site 3 are responsible for the synthesis of leading strand. DNA polymerase alpha and primase at site 4 synthesizes lagging strand primers. The 3' end of each primers are extended by DNA polymerase delta to synthesize each Okazaki fragment at site 5. Nearly 15 different DNA polymerases till date have been discovered in animal cells. Based on sequence homology, eukaryotic and prokaryotic polymerases are classified into 6 families: A, B, C, D, X, and Y. Although several different proteins are actively participating in eukaryotic replication, 3 among them are very important in replication of nuclear DNA: polymerases alpha, delta, and epsilon. All of them belongs to B family of polymerases. The table represents the properties of 3 of the important DNA polymerases involved in replication process. Like all DNA polymerases, DNA polymerase alpha replicates DNA by extending a primer in the 5' to 3' direction. However, this enzyme lacks exonuclease activity and hence cannot proofread its polymerization product. DNA polymerase alpha, which is moderately processive and can polymerize 100 nucleotides at a time, remains in a complex with an enzyme called primase. Primase and Pol alpha complex synthesizes small RNA primer on template strand and extend it to make nearly 20 nucleotide long DNA. Even though the DNA polymerase alpha does not have any proofreading activity, these few nucleotides are actually replaced along with the elimination of RNA primer. DNA polymerase delta, unlike DNA polymerase alpha, is not associated with a primase and contains proofreading activity, that is 3' to 5' exonuclease activity. The processivity of this polymerase is dependent on its association with a sliding clamp protein called proliferating cell nuclear antigen or pCNA, which forms trimeric ring similar to Escherichia coli beta 2 sliding clamp, although they rarely have any sequence similarity. In association with pCNA, DNA polymerase delta is required for lagging strand DNA synthesis. A replication factor C is required to load pCNA onto the template strand near primer, which displaces DNA polymerase alpha from the strand. This process is called template switching. A heterotetrameric nuclear enzyme, DNA polymerase epsilon, is the most enigmatic participant in DNA replication. Even in absence of pCNA, Pol epsilon is highly processive. It has a 3' to 5' exoribonuclease activity, which instead of replacing mononucleotides degrades single-stranded DNA to 6 or 7 residues, as does that of Pol delta. Although Pol epsilon is necessary for the viability of yeast and its essential function can be carried out by only the non-catalytic C-terminal half of its 256 Kd catalytic subunits, which is unique among B family DNA polymerase. This suggests that the C-terminal half of the Pol epsilon catalytic subunit is required for the assembly of the replication complex. Nevertheless, Thomas Kuhnkehl has shown that Pol epsilon is probably the leading strand replicase, although it may also contribute to lagging strand synthesis. Moreover, Pol epsilon may also participate in leading strand synthesis. The crystal structure of pCNA, the three subunits which forms a three-fold symmetric ring are drawn in ribbon form embedded in their semi-transparent surface diagram. One of the subunits is colored in rainbow order from its N-terminus, which is blue, to its C-terminus, which is red. Another is pink, and the third is light green. A space-filling model of bDNA viewed along its helix axis has been drawn in the center of the pCNA ring. One very interesting, unique example of DNA synthesis was observed in retrovirus. Reports show that the host cell genome can be integrated by genomes of a number of animal viruses. Retroviruses, which are enveloped virus, contain two identical RNA strands in their genome. In retroviruses, RNA strand acts as a template for the formation of a DNA molecule. This mechanism, on the contrary of the most common transcription of DNA into RNA, involves the reverse flow of genetic information. Retroviral genome contains a viral enzyme called reverse transcriptase. Initially copies the viral RNA genome into complementary single-stranded DNA called the cDNA to the viral RNA, resulting in the generation of a DNA-RNA hybrid. The template RNA is then degraded and newly synthesized DNA serve as a template for the synthesis of complementary DNA. In this section, we will discuss about the process of retroviral complementary DNA synthesis. The viral RNA strand, after serving as a template for the synthesis of cDNA, is then nucleolytically degraded by an enzyme, ribonuclease H. An ribonuclease H activity that hydrolyzes the RNA of an RNA-DNA hybrid helix. Same enzyme then catalyzes the synthesis of a complementary DNA strand using the existing DNA strand. The resulting double-stranded DNA is integrated into the chromosome of the infected cell, thus making a way to escape from host defense machinery. The integrated proviral DNA is finally transcribed into RNA by the host's transcription machinery. Viral genome-specific RNA is either translated into viral protein or packaged within viral coat proteins, resulting in the formation of infectious progeny virus that are released from the host cell by budding out from the membrane. Majority of the retroviruses do not kill their host cells. Once infected, cells can replicate and divide, producing daughter cells containing integrated proviral genome. These daughter cells continue transcribing the proviral genome and birth progeny variants. Reverse transcriptase has been a particularly useful tool in genetic engineering because it can transcribe mRNA to complementary strands of DNA, which is called cDNA. Messenger RNA-derived cDNAs can be used to express eukaryotic structural genes in E. coli. Since E. coli lacks the machinery to splice out introns, the use of genomic DNA to express a eukaryotic structural gene in E. coli would require the prior excision of its introns, which is a technically difficult feat. I am going to explain the removal of RNA primers in eukaryotes. In mammalian system, where the DNA polymerase doesn't have 5' to 3' exonuclease activity like DNA polymerase 1 in E. coli, Okazaki fragments are connected by a two-step process. RNA primer of the preceding fragment is displaced by the synthesis of Okazaki fragments in the form of flap. In the first step, RNase H1 cleaves major portion of the RNA, leaving only several 5' ribonucleotides adjacent to the DNA. An enzyme called flap endonuclease, or simply FEN, removes rest of the bases of flap by endonuclease action. It has been seen in eukaryotic system that Pol alpha extends the RNA primer by nearly 15 nucleotides of DNA before Pol delta displaces it from the template DNA. The lack of proofreading ability in Pol alpha results in an erroneous primer extension, which is not observed in the polymerization reaction of Pol delta. However, pCNA recruits FEN, which provides what is Pol alpha's proofreading function. It is also an endonuclease that excises mismatch containing oligonucleotides up to 15 nucleotide long from the 5' end of an annealed DNA strand. Moreover, FEN can make several such excisions in succession to remove more distant mismatches. The excised segment is later replaced by Pol delta as it synthesizes the succeeding Okazaki fragment. How telomerase solve the end replication problem will be discussed in this section. One example is presented to understand the mechanism of the synthesis of telomeric DNA by tetrahymia telomerase. The red strand contains the G-rich repetitive sequence. The telomere's 5' end strand is later extended by normal lagging strand synthesis. The replication machinery always have a problem replicating the end of a linear chromosome. Specifically, DNA polymerase is unable to synthesize the extreme 5' end of the lagging strand. Even if an RNA primer were paired with the 3' end of the DNA template, it could not be replaced with DNA. You can recall that DNA polymerase operates only in 5' to 3' direction. It can only extend an existing primer, and the primer must be bound to its complementary strand. Consequently, in the absence of a mechanism for completing the lagging strand, linear chromosome would be shortened at both ends by at least the length of an RNA primer with each round of replications. Telomeres are built from an RNA template. The ends of eukaryotic chromosomes, the telomeres, have an unusual structure. Telomeric DNA consists of 1,000 or more tandem repeats of a short G-rich sequence like TTGGGG in the protozoan Tetrahymia and TTAGGG in humans on the 3' ending strand of each chromosome end. Elizabeth Blackburn Carol Greiter and Jack Jostak have shown that telomeric DNA is synthesized and maintained by an enzyme named telomerase, which is a ribonucleoprotein, that means a complex of protein and RNA. The RNA component, which is 451 nucleotide long in humans, includes a segment that is complementary to the repeating telomeric sequence and acts as a template for a reaction in which nucleotides are added to the 3' end of the DNA. Telomerase translocates a repetitive G-rich sequence to the new 3' end of the DNA strand, thereby adding multiple telomeric sequences to the DNA. The sequences complementary to the telomeric G-rich strand is apparently synthesized by the normal cellular machinery for lagging strand synthesis, leaving a 100 to 300 nucleotide single-stranded overhang on the G-rich strand. Telomerase functions similarly to reverse transcriptase. In fact, its highly conserved catalytic subunit called TART is homologous to reverse transcriptase. In association with finger, palm, and thumb domain, TART includes an additional N-terminal RNA binding domain, which is not present in normal polymerase. The absence of telomerase, which allows the gradual truncation of chromosomes with each round of DNA replication, contributes to the normal senescence of cells. Conversely, enhanced telomerase activity permits the uncontrolled replication and cell growth that occur in cancer. Cells from knockout mice that cannot produce the telomerase associated RNA exhibit no telomerase activity, and their telomeres shortens successively with each cell generations. Such mice can breed and produce normally for 3 generations before the long telomere repeats become substantially eroded. Then the absence of telomere DNA results in adverse effects including fusion of chromosome termini and chromosomal loss. By the 4th generation, the reproductive potential of these knockout mice declines and they cannot produce offspring after the 6th generation. The human genes expressing the telomerase protein and the telomerase associated RNA are active in germ cells but are turned off in most adult tissues in which cells replicate only rarely. However, these genes are reactivated in most human cancer cells where telomerase is required for the multiple cell divisions necessary to form a tumor. This phenomenon has stimulated a search for inhibitors of human telomerase as potential therapeutic agents for treating cancer. While telomerase prevents telomere shortening in most eukaryotes, some organisms use alternative strategies. Drosophila species maintain telomere lengths by the regulated insertion of non-LTR retrotransposons into telomere. This is one of the new instances in which a mobile element has a specific function in its host organism. The figure shows that G-quartet structure are formed in telomere. The G-quartet is a cyclic hydrogen bonded array of 4 guanine nucleotides that can be formed by G-rich sequence in both DNA and RNA. Several G-quartets can stack upon each other to form quadruple helical structure. G-rich polynucleotides are essentially difficult to work with due to their propensity to aggregate via Hookestein type base pairing to form a cyclic tetramer known as G-quartet. Indeed, the G-rich overhanging strands of telomeres fold back on themselves to form a hairpin. two of which associate in an antiparallel fashion to form stable complexes of stacked G quartets. Such structures presumably serve as binding sites for capping protein, which may help regulate telomere length and prevent activation of DNA repair mechanisms that recognize the ends of broken DNA molecules. Without the action of telomerase, a chromosome would be shortened at both ends by at least the length of an RNA primer with every cycle of DNA replication and cell division. It was therefore initially assumed that, in the absence of active telomerase, essential genes located near the ends of chromosomes would eventually be lost, thereby killing the descendants of the original affected cells. However, it is now evident that telomerases serve another vital chromosomal function that must be compromised before this can happen. Free DNA ends trigger DNA damage repair systems that normally function to rejoin the ends of broken chromosome. Consequently, exposed telomeric DNA would result in the end-to-end fusion of chromosomes, a process that leads to chromosomal instability and eventual cell death. However, in a process known as capping, telomeric DNA is specifically bound by proteins that hide the DNA ends. This is mounting evidence. There is mounting evidence that capping is a dynamic process in which the probability of a telomere spontaneously uncapping increases as telomere length decreases. The somatic cells of multicellular organisms lack telomerase activity. This explains why such cells in culture can undergo only a limited number of doublings before they reach senescence and eventually die. Indeed, otherwise immortal tetrahymia cultures with mutationally impaired telomerases exhibit characteristics reminiscent of senescent mammalian cells before dying off. Apparently, the loss of telomerase function in somatic cell is a basis for aging in multicellular organisms. Despite the foregoing, there is only a weak correlation between the proliferative capacity of a culture cell and the age of its donor. There is a strong correlation between the initial telomere length in a cell and its proliferative capacity. Cells that initially have relatively short telomeres undergo significantly fewer doubling than cells with longer telomeres. Moreover, fibroblasts from individuals with progeria, which is a rare disease characterized by a rapid and premature aging resulting in child death, have short telomeres, an observation that is consistent with their known reduced proliferative capacity in culture. In contrast, sperm, which are essentially immortal, have telomeres that do not vary in length with donor age, which indicates that telomerase is active during germline growth. Likewise, those few cells in culture that become immortal exhibit an active telomerase and a telomere of stable length, as do the cells of unicellular eukaryotes. What selective advantage might multicellular organisms gain by eliminating the telomerase activity in their somatic cells? An intriguing possibility is that cellular senescence is a mechanism that protects multicellular organisms from cancer. Indeed, cancer cells, which are immortal and grow uncontrollably, contain active telomerase. For example, the enzyme is active in ovarian cancer cells but not in normal ovarian tissue. This hypothesis makes telomerase inhibitors an attractive target for anti-tumor drug development. We will be discussing in this section the incidents occurring behind the replication fork. In contrast to prokaryotic DNA, eukaryotic DNA is packaged in nucleosomes. Some alterations of this structure is probably necessary for initiation, but once replication is underway, nucleosomes do not seem to impede the progress of DNA polymerases. Experiments with labeled histones indicate that nucleosomes just ahead of the replication fork disassemble, and the freed histones, either individually or as dimers or tetramers, immediately reassociate with the emerging daughter duplex. The parental histones randomly associate with the leading and lagging duplexes. DNA replication, which occurs in nucleus in eukaryotes, is coordinated with histone protein synthesis in the cytosol so that new histones are available in the required amount. The question is, what is unique about DNA replication process and how it is different from prokaryotes? First, eukaryotic chromosomes are linear, not circular like prokaryotes. Eukaryotic chromosome contain multiple origin of replication, although in both the cases the replication process is bidirectional. But the mechanism of synthesis of primer to initiate DNA replication is completely different. In prokaryotes, RNA primer is synthesized, which is RNA DNA hybrid in eukaryotes. Similarly, the removal of primers also involves a different mechanism towards the end of the replication process. In eukaryotes, each strands are synthesized by a specific DNA polymerase. However, in prokaryotes, DNA polymerase 3 carry out mostly the polymerization reaction. In addition to the telomerase is absent in prokaryotes but serve as an important function in eukaryotes, maintaining the chromosome integrity. To summarize whatever I have taught until now, eukaryotic DNA replication is bidirectional like prokaryotes. Different DNA polymerases are involved in the initiation and the elongation process of the replication, and each of the polymerases have their specific functions. Unlike prokaryotes, eukaryotic chromosomes are linear. The end of the eukaryotic chromosome, called telomere, which forms a G-quartet structures. Telomerase is an enzyme with a reverse transcriptase activity maintain the chromosomal integrity of the eukaryotic cells. We also learned how retroviral DNA is synthesized from double-stranded RNA. In this lecture, we also learned about the eukaryotic DNA replication process in detail, the characteristics of different DNA polymerases and their specific kind of functions, the function of telomerase and the mechanism of the synthesis of retroviral DNA. We also learned how eukaryotic replication is different from that of prokaryotes. Thank you.